and welcome back to another episode of Millennials Gone Circular, the podcast that's helping you make circularity a reality. Today, we're joined by the ever so lovely Tashina Alavi. Tashina is a digital marketing specialist at the Swedish University of Agricultural Sciences, working within one of the world's top-ranked forestry faculties. With over 10 years of experience in digital marketing, strategic partnerships, and communications, she's specializing in data-driven strategies that drive measurable results. Her international career has taken her all around the world: Sweden, LA, Cape Town, southern France, and Brussels, and she's worked in both the nonprofit sector and international institutions, including the European Commission. At the university, she drives digital transformation by modernizing communication strategies, enhancing student recruitment efforts, and making forestry research more accessible to wider audiences. Outside of work, she enjoys exploring forests, naturally, hiking, good tea, and smooth jazz. Forever curious and always learning. Let's listen in. Okay, then welcome to another episode. This is already episode number 7, guys, of Millennials Gone Circular. It's a pleasure for me to introduce to Tashina Alavi.
Hello.
Say hi to all our big audience.
Hi, audience.
She's a digital marketing specialist, and she's working at the Swedish University of Agricultural Science, aka SLU, right?
Yeah, that's like
Yeah, that's the way that Swedish people call it.
Yeah.
Very good Swedish pronunciation, I assume.
Yes, Sveriges lantbruksuniversitet. Yes.
Yeah,
Swedish.
she said it better.
That's very fancy.
That's the Swedish way.
That's true. And that's one of the top ranked forestry faculties, actually. And she has over
Number
10
one
years.
in the world.
Number one in the world. That's
Mhm.
amazing.
Yeah. In forestry research.
And she has over 10 years of experience in digital marketing, strategic partnership, and communications, specializing in data-driven strategies. Welcome, Tashina.
Thank you.
How are you feeling?
What a nice introduction. Yeah, I feel good.
Yeah,
Feel good to be here. Yeah.
that's so good. Hi, Caitlin. Hi, Said. How are you?
Hello.
Hello.
I am very well. I feel like we talk about the weather every time we
That's
start a
very
show.
Swedish to talk about the weather.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very Dutch. Very
Very
Dutch.
Dutch.
Oh.
But can I just say, so I have just been off on holidays. I've been in Australia for 2 weeks and then Thailand for another week doing some sustainable and regenerative travel. But I've come back to the Netherlands and it's like I haven't left Australia or Thailand. It's been beautiful, sunny every day. It's amazing. It's amazing.
Ah, that's so good. Did you go to the
Wow.
beach?
No, I have not yet.
Ah, yeah, but summer is coming, so you will have plenty of time.
I
Yeah.
always wanted to visit Australia. Haven't been. It's on my bucket list.
Mm,
Oh,
me too.
It's amazing. Do visit.
Yeah, one day.
Caitlin is half Australian. She has been in there for a very long time.
Oh, okay.
Mm.
Very
I'm
nice.
self-proclaimed half Austro-American.
Australian.
Oh.
So true.
And-
What about you, Said?
Yeah, good. Yeah, it's good to start with the weather. It's nice. It's nice here in Belgium, and I feel like Caitlin, you are welcomed back very well to Netherlands then. And yeah, I just had a Swedish famous fika, so I'm also in the Swedish vibe right now.
So good. Yeah.
And yeah, I'm well. Thanks.
Ah, that's so good, guys. Okay, so well, as we already introduced Tashina and what she loves, well, a bit of it because we have only talked about, let's say, her professional
area in life, let's talk a bit more about you. And tell us a bit more about yourself, what you like, what gets you into marketing, sustainability, forestry. And in general, do you have any hobbies, something that you like to do?
Yeah.
Tell us a bit about yourself.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you guys already heard about my work. I work as a digital marketing specialist for Swedish University of Agricultural Sciences, as you said before. And I work specifically for the forestry faculty with student recruitment. So visibility of our educational programs, promoting them in all kinds of ways, both online and offline. So that is my work. I do have a background in digital analytics, so I do work very data driven and with measurement and measuring everything. I love that. And I also have a background in international relations, so I worked with that also for many years in many different countries. I've lived in the US, in Los Angeles, in
So good.
in Cape Town, in South France, Aix-en-Provence, and also in Brussels. So yeah. And
Now that you mentioned that, how many languages do you speak? Brag about it. Here we like to brag about those things.
well, 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, I speak Swedish, English, Farsi, my mother tongue, and a bit of French.
Yeah. You haven't told us, where are you from? Starting from that. Originally.
Well, I was born and raised in Sweden, but
Yeah,
my parents came from Iran.
Yeah.
During the war in the 80s. So I have my Iranian background as well.
That's good. Amazing.
So how did you both meet each other? You're both in Sweden, and I'm very jealous that you're together. But yeah, how did you meet?
We went to a meetup that was about like women in data analytics, something like that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and we had the dinner together. It was us and a bunch of other like cool female strangers.
Yeah. We're very
I
cool.
love that.
Yeah.
Cool female strangers.
Yeah.
Our hashtag.
We went to, I even remember now where we went. We went to that Spanish tapas restaurant.
Yeah, actually we went there.
Yeah.
It was very nice.
Yeah, it was really nice. And the food was nice. The vibe was good. And I like that everyone were like so open-minded. Like, oh, I don't know these people, and let's just go there and have dinner with them.
Exactly.
I reckon that's how you meet the best people.
Sorry?
That's how you meet the best people, is you just go somewhere with an open mind and just see what happens.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Tell us a bit about your like hobbies. What do you like to do?
Yeah, exactly. My hobbies. So I mean, this is so cliche, but obviously travel.
It's not cliche. It's millennial cliche. Okay, millennial cliche.
It is. It's so cliche. But I mean, one thing that I also do love is hiking. So I do love spending time in nature. So I think that's actually such a privilege to work for the forestry faculty, because then I get to spend a lot of time in nature and get paid for it as well.
That's true. Can you take me with you next time?
Exactly. So yesterday, for example, we went to this place called Hagestad, right outside of Ystad, and I witnessed a prescribed fire burn. So they were basically throwing up a fire in the wood.
Really?
Yeah.
But it's necessary for nature, actually. It's a buffer to avoid being a fire.
Exactly. So and I was there like taking some photos, and like, and the students were there as well, and I was like, oh, okay, like this is what you guys do.
No, but I mean, that's amazing. Yeah.
So music, reading, animals. Lately, I'm really into dogs.
I mean,
I think I'm gonna get a dog. soon,
Love it. Yeah,
actually.
me too. I need a puppy in my life.
Really?
Tashina, I have
Okay.
a question for you. You mentioned the prescribed burns. I'm super interested in that because it's a huge topic in Australia, prescribed burns, and like traditionally or historically, the Indigenous population would manage the land and look after country, and part of that is through prescribed burns. So I'm curious, do you know where is that something traditionally that Swedish Indigenous have done, or is that knowledge that's been borrowed from other Indigenous cultures?
I have no idea, but that is a very good question.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. Interesting to know.
I actually have no idea. This is something that I'm going to learn from my colleagues. But yeah, when it comes to forestry, it's still something that I'm learning a lot about. But yeah, my expertise is in marketing.
Now, we will exactly go into that now. So our first topic of the day, it's basically understand a bit more how can we engage the millennial and Gen Z audience into sustainability, forestry, and all these kind of green topics that are not just trendy now, but are also key for our future, basically, in this planet, if we want to put it in a very dramatic way.
Yeah.
So yeah, basically, what do you think that how does your work connect and engage younger generations in sustainability and forestry? Like how you see it from that perspective?
So when it comes to forestry, as I said before, I work with student recruitment, and all of our programs are in forestry. So we work with campaigns, with social media, with collaborations with different organizations. We have like open house events. Everything digital, website newsletters, to get young people to basically find out about our programs and apply to them. And if you want me to go like even deeper, like we also do. I mean, we also like when it comes to the strategy itself that I use, it's a lot of measuring and A/B testing. So like the content that I use is always data driven and audience first is what I call it. So I don't go after like what I think is the best for the younger generation to see, but for basically I measure and I do different experiments with content, like with headlines, with images, with text, and then I measure like, okay, what is it that is interesting them? Like, what is driving engagement? What is it that makes them click on this content and not that content? What is it that makes people open our newsletters? What text is it that is engaging them? So it's a lot of experimenting and testing and and I also look up like where is our audience, like where is our target audience hanging out, and where can we reach them in a creative way, which is also like where partnerships come into the picture.
Now that you mentioned also because you're like a very data-driven woman, what can you say like a key fact in terms of like what you just mentioned about the places, the key facts and figures that you can find that you have been finding throughout your job? Can you tell us something interesting that you have found lately about like where these generations are, what attracts them to the content related to forestry, sustainability in these areas?
Something that I have found interesting. Well, one thing that maybe it's not because the younger generation is like one segment that I work with and experiment with, but I also work with the other part of my job is forestry research communications, like communications towards like the forestry research that is done. But we have like in our newsletters, we have different segments.
Mm.
So, for example, with our newsletters, one interesting fact that I noticed was that so we give out our newsletters every month,
Mhm.
and the majority of the people that subscribe to our newsletters, they work in different forestry companies.
Mm.
And our theory before was that because they are like business people and whatnot, they are more engaged with reading our newsletters during weekdays. This has been our theory, but then like the data showed that the most engagement we had was in July, which is like in the middle of the holiday season in Sweden.
Exactly.
And we were like, why would they be so engaged and read like this research about our forestry?
Mhm.
During their holiday, it goes against the cliche that people are like laying at the beach during the summer and not, bothering to do this like more heavy kind of, reading, which forestry research can be like, so so that was like super interesting that actually we had even more engagement during people's spare time
Yeah.
than during the weekday. So that made us basically change our strategy, and now we send out newsletters during the weekends instead.
And did you see like the results actually like improve the
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. Yeah, we have like even more clicks now, and so that's one thing that I was
Ah,
like,
what do you
that
think
is
about it,
interesting.
guys? Yeah.
Well, I think I mean, I dabble in lots of different communications and digital marketing strategies as a business owner myself. So it's interesting. You make a point about it's all about knowing your audience and looking at the little nitty gritty details of where they're hanging out, what are their behaviors, how are we reaching them, and I think this can apply to our audience who's working, even if you're not a digital marketer or in communications or any type of comms role. Again, maybe you're an electrician. That's my go-to example for whatever reason. But knowing your audience, who are these people that might need their lights fixed? I should
Yeah.
really understand more about what an electrician does apart from
Yeah.
electricity, but I think it's a good example of knowing your audience so you can make an impact, whatever impact you're trying to make. But one question I had for you, I mean, one thing that we harp on about on this show is that you can have an impact, you can progress sustainability and circularity no matter what role that you're in. And I think it's really a really great example of you coming on the show as not someone in a traditional sustainability role in that traditional sense. You're first and foremost a digital marketer.
Yeah.
Who happens to be working on sort of an impact thing. So I'm curious, my question to you is, how did you fall into the forestry world, or was it something that you had your eyes set on?
Yeah, like I just stumbled into it.
Yeah. Did you trip
That's
over
such a good-
something, a
that's
log
such-
perhaps?
That's such a good question, because I got that. I think that was like the number one question I got when I was new at my job. I started like a year and a half ago, and a lot of people were like, how did you get into forestry? And like, do you have a forestry background? And I was like, nope, not at all. But I think, I mean, I definitely consciously applied it because I do have a big interest in, I mean, I've always loved nature. I love watching like documentaries about the earth and our planet and the animals, and so that's always been an interest of mine. And hiking, as I said, I love that. But I worked previous to this. I worked at an organization called in English it's called We Agroforestry, Vi Skogen. It's an NGO that works with agroforestry, as the name it says, in Eastern Africa, and they have their head office in Stockholm. So I worked for them, and well, that is a little forestry related. So I think that definitely helped me to get into this role. But I think the biggest factor for why I got into this role, why they decided to hire me, was because I have experience in student recruitment. So yeah. But now when I am in this role, I'm like, I never want to leave the forestry sector. Like, I love working with forestry. It's so interesting. And I'm learning so many things every day. Working with top researchers, and it's just and it's a huge field in Sweden. Like, so many people don't know about that. It's one of our biggest exports, the forest, the wood, and there's so many opportunities in it as well, which unfortunately a lot of young people still don't know about.
That's true.
So yeah,
Well,
I feel like I'm
say,
doing a good thing as well.
yeah. So to say, good for you then. You are in the right place, the right time. But then I'm curious to ask, what do you think, what makes forestry domain or field interesting and unique compared to other areas you worked at before?
Well, for one thing, I feel like it's an untapped source. Like, there's so much potential there, so many opportunities, so many possibilities. It's not just the now, it's the future, and it's only going to get bigger and bigger. And there's so much that we can do in it that is still not being done. So for me, I love working with something that is so future driven. And I think that, and then like I said before, of course, I have myself a passion for it. And then working with getting younger people interested in something that I myself believe in and that I know is good for them as well, that makes it so rewarding. So I think that is definitely a big maybe difference compared to previous work I have done. So yeah.
No, yeah, definitely. And maybe something that I see, it's many people, of course, I mean, we know that our generation and even younger generation, we have the privilege of the unlimited or almost unlimited access to information, right? And that makes us, I mean, according to what people says, the most sustainability conscious generations. Do you think it's true, now that you work more or less in the sector of forestry, that do you think it's
Definitely
true from your experience? And what do you think excites them the most about working in forestry and sustainability in these kind of areas?
Oh, okay. So many questions, but the first one, I definitely agree with you. I think that the generation we have now, they are so sustainability driven and so conscious about what is going on in the world. And I think that any organization, company, or whatever that is trying to do greenwashing, for example, I mean, sooner or later, it's not going to work in the long run, because authenticity these days is so important, especially for the younger generation, transparency, authenticity, and so that is something that I also try to work with in my communication with the younger generation, keeping things very transparent and authentic, and I also can see that it engages them. So yes, and also I mean, influencers is also getting really big, influencers in the sustainability field, that have their own social media accounts and everything. So that is
and
also
maybe a podcast.
Yeah, and podcast definitely. So yeah, so that's also something that I can see is like only going to get bigger and bigger, and also influence our generation. What was the other question?
That maybe what do you think is the difference between this generation when it comes to like their awareness in sustainability and forestry and older generations or previous generations?
Okay, but if we go to like forestry, because that can be like a category in itself. So if we look at forestry, for example, we have seen a decline in people that are applying to forestry programs, which is a shame because there are so many opportunities there. And before, in Sweden at least, it used to be actually pretty prestigious to become a jägmästare is the title in Swedish. In English, it would be a forestry manager. That used to be like a very prestigious thing, and it would normally be people from villages that had families that owned forest that moved on to study forestry. So that was actually a huge difference from how it is today, because today, for one thing, more and more young people are living in urban areas. Less and less people own forest, like of the younger generation, like have family that own forest, and also like they're very sustainability driven. And I think a lot of people connect forestry with, someone just being in the forest, like chopping wood. And also I think many people associated with production, and not necessarily with sustainability. So that is something that the forestry sector and we haven't been like very good with actually telling the younger generation about the possibilities. And now we are trying to reach you guys and millennials and Gen Z and like, first of all, changing our audience, our target audience, and then also telling everyone about the opportunities and that you actually work a lot with sustainability. Yeah. You can work a lot with sustainability if you work with forestry, and they're very interconnected as well.
I like that you talking about the different perceptions of the different generations. So when you say forestry, I get a picture of a lumberjack, a very handsome lumberjack, might I add. But there's a lumberjack, right? And I'm from Wisconsin originally, so there's Paul Bunyan and his ox are a very, I'm not going to explain it. Go and have a little Google of the parable. But that's what comes into my mind. And Wisconsin's similar to Sweden and Norway and the Nordics, very resource rich or natural resource rich. And even forestry programs were built into my upbringing. I did a Trees for Tomorrow program.
Oh, wow.
Okay. And that brought me, we did a little program where we went around and learned about forestry, and we got to mark the trees and it was all sustainable and properly managed, and went around marking trees to be cut down, and even operated one of the big tree cutting things.
Look at you.
I know. Maybe sign me up. Sign me up for the next forestry.
Definitely. Come to Sweden.
But that's my experience, and someone else might be, seeing, we need to be planting trees, not cutting them down. And also agree with that. But it is a renewable resource, and there's a way that we can do it sustainably, and it's part of the solution. There's skyscrapers being built, wooden skyscrapers. So it's actually, it feeds into the built environment sector as well. So it's not just about cutting trees down.
Yeah.
It's one of the options that we need to create more of a circular world. So yeah, I'm glad that you brought that up.
Yeah, definitely.
Now we know a new phase or a new something that we didn't know before about Caitlin.
Yeah.
Next career.
Exactly.
We got potential. What about you, Said? Have you ever had any contact with the forestry industry?
Next thing she would do is to start a business in forestry, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Come and study
The
at
tree
our
not spot.
Yeah, you were like the recruiter.
yeah, exactly. I'm recruiting you now.
All right. Have a list.
What
Excellent.
about you, Said? Do you have any experience in the forestry industry? Like, or yeah, any kind of
I
forestry?
would call it forestry. Like my parents are farmers, so we used to plant trees, like for farming goals, but not like the forest. So, but yeah, I grew up like in a, let's say, farming environment. So
Yeah.
we have like technical skills on how to do it and the timing and so on, but not forestry. I think it's different.
Well, we have a lot of students actually that come from a farming background as well, and they started like through like yeah, basically their journey into forestry was through their family being farmers, and yeah.
It feels like you're recruiting me, yeah?
Yeah, I was just gonna say,
Can't help
Saeed.
it. I am arbetsskadad, as we say in Sweden. What do you say in English? Arbetsskadad, like.
I don't know. I should learn more Swedish.
Like when you are working so much with something that like automatically just comes out of you,
Yeah.
out of your system, like you can't help it.
Yeah, that would be very good if you recruit them because then I will bring them to Sweden.
Yeah.
And we will be together. No, but yeah, I think it's great.
But having said that, I think it's also important to just like as a side note that there is a lot of debate in Sweden regarding sustainability and forestry, and there are a lot of NGOs in Sweden that say that the forestry companies are not being sustainable, and then the forestry companies are saying that the NGOs are extremists in their views, and because there is a lot of clear cutting in Sweden, and the NGOs say that this is not good for the environment. So
Yeah.
I wanted to add, like, there is also this European regulation around the deforestation that is putting more pressure to prohibit like illegal logging, and also have a lot of requirements with regards to due diligence. Not just, I think, forestry company, but also companies that buy forestry products, which I think will help in the future to have more like sustainable forestry businesses and the downstream value chains.
yeah. Oh, that's interesting.
I think maybe we've gotten to maybe this is a bit late to the show, but Tashina, if we've got you recruit students to your forestry programs at the university, what would you say, or if a student came to you and said, why would I sign up to this forestry program? Is it forestry just about cutting down trees? Can you kind of give a synopsis of what forestry is, why it is or isn't bad, in air quotes, and why we need people in this industry?
Well, I would tell the student that forestry can be whatever you make it to be, because there's so many career opportunities and different paths that you can take after you finish your education. So if you want, I mean, you could work for a company that does clear cutting, which is not very sustainable. And if you want, you could take the other extreme like route to towards like we have alumni that are working as global sustainability advisors for NGOs, for different NGOs around the world. You could take that direction as well. But I would also tell the student that this is the future and there's so many opportunities. I feel like I'm repeating myself. There's so many opportunities.
No, but there is.
But especially in Sweden, as I said before, the forestry sector is booming. It's just gonna become even more important now with all the EU regulations and all the companies being forced also to go more towards climate friendly alternatives in their work. So the energy sector as well. So I will tell the student that there's so many opportunities out there and there's so many different paths that you could take in forestry that is very sustainable. So and you can work both locally in Sweden and international. If you take our programs, which are international, then you can definitely work internationally. Our master's program is called Euroforester, so you get to travel a lot in Europe and learn about forestry in different countries. I was in Lithuania last month, for example, and going to Poland next month, learning about the forest there. So yeah, what was your other question? Or did you have another question? Or did I answer the question?
I think you answered the question for me. I guess, Saeed, what do you reckon?
Yeah, I was going to ask, since you mentioned there's a lot of traveling involved, whether that's actually a sustainable way to learn about forestry, because that's probably like has a lot of impact.
Ooh, that is
a kind of challenging point.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, the people that are taking this master's program, the Euroforester, they know what they sign up for, and they are specifically signing up for this because of the travel. But if you look at it in the long run, I would say that it pays off. because for example, we have students that like they want to work in Sweden. They don't want to work in another country, but by traveling to these different countries, and by the way, we don't always go by plane, by flight.
Yeah, that's very sustainable, taking the train.
Yeah, so we do have also like these big vans, and then they use the big vans sometimes. I would say, yeah, so what I was saying is, so for example, if you want to work in Sweden, and maybe like some aspects of Swedish forestry is not as effective in terms of sustainability, but then you can go to Lithuania, for example, or Poland, and then you get to learn different different aspects of how they work with these challenges and problems. And then you can bring that back to Sweden and vice versa, like the Polish students, the Lithuanian students. So I think in the long run, it's actually very sustainable, but maybe in the short term, yeah, not as much.
No, but I mean, I think it's a very good point. Like, anyways, we're all learning about like how to make the things more sustainable in the long run. That I think it sounds redundant, but I think we are still understanding how we make things that works now also works in the future, and it works for everyone. So definitely. So now that we are a bit on this or now that we finish a bit with the topic of like generations and the differences between like said younger students and a bit previous generations, now we can understand a bit more from your experience in digital marketing and understanding a bit the synergy between sustainability and digital marketing, because you're also like very good and you have a lot of experience on that. So you have mentioned that digital marketing plays a huge role in like making sustainability research and forestry research more accessible for everyone. So maybe what's your overview of like how digital tools helps to like close the gap between like very complex science topics and just like public knowledge, public understanding, just like everyone can understand what is going on in this area.
Yes.
What would you say?
Good question.
Hmm.
This is something my colleagues that are researchers should know as well, because I think that so many researchers, the ones that are working with this complex science, and a lot of other people as well, they I don't think they understand how big of an impact social media has. So this is one example of something connected to digital platforms. But if we look at social media, for example, I mean, we have entire movements that are coming from social media these days, like what was her name?
The Swedish girl,
Yeah.
Greta Thunberg.
Greta Thunberg, the Swedish girl. So she started like a whole movement. What was it called? Basically, every Tuesday she was like outside of the parliament in Sweden, and instead of going to school, she was just sitting there, and it was called.
Oh yeah, Fridays for Future.
Yes, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it started with just like her and her idea, and then it spread online. It spread through social media, and it went viral. So more and more and more people were finding out about it. Young people were finding out about it, and then it just like exploded and started like a whole movement, and other people got engaged in it. I mean, from my own experience, like I'm Iranian, and the women life freedom movement that came from Iran, where a lot of young people were out in the streets and basically trying to change the government and changing basically their future to get a brighter future with more freedom for themselves. That started entirely through social media. Basically, they were filming themselves in these demonstrations, and these videos were going viral and just like being seen and reached millions of people around the world. So I think like that's one thing when it comes to sustainability and driving change. And then like me personally, if we're going to go to my work, I mean, when I work with complex topics, like, yeah, I try to make the research as accessible as possible to the general audience by, for example, making small videos, by making campaigns like International Women's Day campaign, like tying the research to different themes, for example, that everyone can engage with and people engage with. A/B testing that I said before, experimenting, and always looking at like what is it that makes the audience tick.
Sounds very good, actually.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Tashina, I'm so interested in this topic. I could ask you questions forever on,
Yeah.
you know, using digital marketing to basically mainstream sustainability. That's what we're talking about here, right? And I love having you on here because you're basically bringing, you know, whoever's listening to this, maybe there's someone that's come to Millennials Gone Circular and they're going, okay, I have got an interest in sustainability. I'm currently an electrician, but I want to get into something else. You're bringing two options to them, really. We're talking about forestry as an option, getting your hands dirty, becoming a handsome little lumberjack, if you like.
Yeah.
And we're also talking about digital marketing. So if you're a bit more of the, you know, behind, you know, the brains behind the operation, you know, So you've got two very good options that you can be using for impact. Yeah, I could ask you questions all day, but I know we're running out of time. So my last question to you, I'm curious, what would your advice be to either young professionals or students, or even, you know, millennials such as us looking to transition into a sustainability role? What sort of tools or platforms can you recommend for them to upskill? Like what's the place to be in digital marketing, or forestry, if you have a comment on that? But in terms of, you know, upskilling them to find opportunities in this, in this space.
Well, come study at SLU.
Shameless plug, no worries.
No, but well, I mean, the first suggestion that I would tell anyone that want to transition into a new role would be, first of all, to speak with the people that are already in that industry, and get in touch with them, and that could be online through platforms like LinkedIn, for example. That's how we got into touch for this podcast. And it can be offline as well. I know for SLU, we have a lot of open house events regularly where you can meet the researchers and ask them all kinds of questions that you have, and they would be very happy to answer them. And there's so many like events also connected to not just forestry but sustainability. I know like Eventbrite also has a lot of those, and then you get to meet people that are in the field already. And so I would say that would definitely be the first step, to speak with someone that is already working in that field.
Fabulous.
Yeah,
And they've already taken that first step by listening to this episode, because you are Exhibit A.
Yeah.
No, yeah, totally. And yeah, maybe now like a little dynamic that we are doing here in our podcast in Millennials Gone Circular is just to tell every guest what's a question that you will do to our next guest.
Oh my God, that one. I wrote it down. Can I read it?
Yeah, of
Okay, I
course.
wrote it down here because I was like, I want it to be a good question and not just something that I'm like, oh, just off my head. Okay, so the question would be, what's one belief that you had 5 years ago that now you completely change your mind about? And what led you to that shift? That's a deep one.
That's very
I
deep,
like
actually.
that.
Yeah.
I like
Yeah.
that.
Me
Can you, what's your belief? Can we throw it back on you?
I mean, yeah, exactly. Well, I think I touched upon that already during this episode, like the stereotypes about forestry. I had a lot of stereotypes about forestry 5 years ago, or even 1.5 years ago before I started my work. And my picture of that was definitely the lumberjack guy.
Cutting the trees.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
It's
I
a
have no
lovely
idea.
image to have.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry,
So,
Said.
and also like I had this idea like, oh, it must be such an uncomfortable job, like you know, like a very physical labor. And it's like, no, like there's so many things that you can work with. And also forestry is connected to so many things, to our like society in general, to policies, to
Climate change.
to animals, to the ecosystem,
Biodiversity, everything.
Yes.
Yeah, you're so right. And now,
What about you? What's one belief you had?
Look, I believed I was going to be in Australia for the rest of my life, and here we are in the Netherlands. So I think that's a quick and easy one for you.
Yeah.
It might be a cheating answer, but
No, it's a very good answer.
It's all right.
What about you, Said?
Yeah, it's a hard one indeed. It's a deep question.
Yeah.
Maybe one related to our topic of
Mm.
sustainability in general is that I think I thought that fixing climate change would be maybe easier than it looks like today after deep diving into like business world and knowing how it looks like. So it's kind of why harder and maybe like almost impossible. But it's a bit hard.
Never say never. Never impossible.
Yeah.
No,
But
but
it's
it's very good. It's true. I think we all, even the most powerful politicians and the highest level scientists, we all thought it would be easy or easier, and now we realize, shoot, we had made many mistakes, and it's not as easy as we thought.
How are we gonna turn
Yeah.
back time?
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. Maybe a time machine. Let's see in the
I
future.
think on that note, actually, our last guest left us with a question for you that's very similar.
Oh.
What would are you ready for this? I don't think we gave this to you. I'm not sure. Can't remember.
Uh-huh.
I put it here.
Okay. All right. What would you say to the younger version of yourself?
That is a deep question too.
Mm.
People that come here like
We're
to
getting
keep
deep.
things deep.
Of course. That's what we're good at.
Oh wow. Oh my God, there's so many things that I would like to tell my younger self.
Little Tashina.
Yeah. Oh.
One thing that first comes to you.
I used to be, I'm getting better at it. Well, I used to be a person that worried a lot about the future. And always, had to have like plans ahead of time and all that sort of thing. No, I guess I would tell my younger self that, enjoy yourself, enjoy the journey that you are on, and everything is gonna be all right in the end. Like everything is gonna sort itself out. Don't worry too much about it. Don't sweat too much about
You,
it.
Bob Marley.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's that's very deep
A deep
actually.
answer as well.
I think it's very relatable for most people.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
all gonna be okay. It's going to work out. Trust
Yeah.
yourself. Cut yourself some slack. I like it.
Exactly. Yeah. Like
Exactly.
just live life, enjoy it, and enjoy the journey. It's not about the final destination always. And once you get to the final destination, you might realize you didn't want it anyway. So,
Yeah, most probably.
Mm.
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen, sister.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Okay, now unfortunately, because we really don't want to, we are wrapping up our episode today. But of course, as I mentioned before, we can see you again once that we become very famous. I
Yeah.
promise we will invite you again. So
Thank you. I feel honored.
for today, we want to wrap up with like a very interesting question that we usually do to our guests, which is where the listeners can find you if they want to find out more about SNU or the job you're doing, or
Yeah.
about you in general.
LinkedIn.
How you can find your LinkedIn.
So my name, just like type in my name, Tashina Alavi, and I'm there. And you can see my post and my face in different environments.
Exactly.
And my thoughts about student recruitment, marketing, all of the things that I mentioned here today. So yeah, you can find me there.
Amazing. Do you have any book, series, documentaries, recommendation for listeners?
Oh my God, now we're gonna go deep again.
It's part of the episode.
Yeah.
Sorry. This is what you get into. I didn't force it, okay? For audience, she was not forced.
We should be deep Millennials Gone Circular.
Exactly. Well,
Like
sustainability is deep,
Yeah.
It's,
Yeah.
definitely.
Well, I mean, one book that I am like rereading again for the second time now is Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl.
Mm.
Have you guys read that book?
No, I haven't.
No, but adding it now to my
Yeah.
list.
Yeah, wait a minute.
He was a Jew that survived concentration camp, and he was a psychologist as well. During the time,
There's so many levels of deep in that
yeah, I know.
Holocaust.
And then he talks about
Psychology.
in the book about basically how he used his knowledge in psychology to survive. And then like the first part of the book is like about how he basically survived concentration camp and how like basically everyone in his family died and he was the only survivor. And then how he, and then the second part it's about like logotherapy, which is what is it called? A field in psychology that he created himself, and how he basically like rebuilt his life, remarried, got kids again, and actually lived a very prosperous life. And he talks a lot about like the different psychological methods that goes into that and how you basically can decide like at any given time to like you can't change what happens to you, but you can decide what attitude you're going to have towards it.
Totally.
That's so deep.
No,
Yeah.
but I agree. That's the only
put it
thing
in
we
the
have
show
control
notes.
over, right? We can decide anything
Yeah.
about politics, economy, global issues, but the only thing we can do is like how we approach it. I agree. Amen again.
We'll put that in the show notes as well.
Yeah. Okay, so guys, again, it was a pleasure to be together. And thank you so much, Tashina,
Thank you.
for being our guest in this episode. It was an amazing time, as always. Thank you so much. And I hope you have all a great day, a great week. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, Tashina. See everyone at the next episode.
Bye.
Bye-bye. See you
Bye.
next episode.
We hope today's chat with Tashina left you feeling inspired to explore unexpected paths into sustainability, whether that's through marketing, forestry, or just kind of staying curious and open to learning. Remember, no matter what your background is, there's always a space and a place for you in the sustainability industry. It just starts with a single step. So thank you for tuning in to today's episode. Before we go, Millennials Gone Circular is a production of The Waste Not Spot. The Waste Not Spot recognizes the many traditional landowners around the world and their continued stewardship of our planet. We pay our respects and offer our deepest gratitude. If you enjoyed this episode, we'd love it if you subscribed, shared it with a friend, or left us a lovely little review. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn at The Waste Not Spot, and join our Millennials Gone Circular communities on both Facebook and LinkedIn to keep our conversations going. Until next time, thanks for listening.